Good day to everyone, wherever and whatever time you are listening to us. First of all, thank you very much for joining us this orientation for ICAAW, and that is basically our November 2021 session basically. So that will be basically November 2021 session. Thank you very much for joining, and now we are about to start. As you people know that ICAW means Institute of Chartered Accountant in England and Wales. So ICAW is basically a short abbreviation for your complete qualification. And first of all, I congratulate all of you on making the decision because you are about to start the ICAEW. We will discuss in detail what is ICAW, what is the exemption criteria, what are exams you have to appear, about your training. There are a lot of questions, there are a lot of contents that we are going to discuss. But first of all, we will start our orientation with our tutor's profile basically. I will be your tutor for this session, November 2021. My name is Nomani Yakat. I am ICAEW member, ACCA member, FCCA. Apart from that, I am also a member of PIFA. I have more than 7 years of teaching experience and also holds more than 5 years of industry experience in public limited companies, private limited companies in different positions in different departments as well. I am teaching at various online forums and also at approved learning partners as well. I am also a lecturer at some university. Apart from that, I'm also Oxford Books mentor and I also hold business finance professional certification from UK as well. So that's a brief introduction about myself because sometimes students are much interested because from where they are studying, what is their tutor and how they are going to study it as well. So let's start our directly. These are basically the contents that we have set for today. Apart from this content, if you people will be having any question, any query, definitely I will be here to answer all of your queries. But meanwhile, please send your questions through chat box so I can answer all of your queries at the end of this orientation. So thank you. So first of all, we will be discussing why ICAEW. I hope that some of you will be aware what do you mean by ICAEW, why you want to pursue. Apart from that, we will discuss in much more detail. Second, we will discuss the qualification structure, like what is the structure of ICAEW, how many exams are there, what assumptions will be available for you, like what is the assumptions criteria. For example, if you are ACC affiliate, if you are ACCA member, if you are joining from another qualification and their body, so how many exemptions you can avail, we are going to help you out. Then we will discuss the exam structure. Exam structure mean how many exams are there basically, what will be the paper pattern, what will be the syllabus, corporate reporting, audit, assurance, what are the different components of different exams basically. Then we will discuss one of the major issue why students are going to fail. If we talk about then globally, we have a very good passing rate, but for Asian countries and particularly for Pakistan, unfortunately, and for some other countries, we do not have a very good passing rate. So what is the reason? What are the major issues behind this very low passing rate? We will discuss these issues as well. Then we will look at some of our results of previous year, and then we will also share our technique how we are going to study for this session of November 2021. Then we will discuss another new model, new technique, that is basically no pass no fee model. What do you mean by no pass no fee model? Just take a minute and then we will discuss in our next slide. And finally, our session will conclude on question and answer session as well. I will be answering all of your questions. What you have, then definitely we will be having a good session as well. So let's start our directly. First of all, this is basically our no pass, no fee model. What do you mean by no pass, no fee model? No pass, no fee model means, for example, if you are going to register with us and then you study and you comply and you meet our terms and condition. And if you meet our terms and condition, then hopefully, most probably, you are going to pass. But if unfortunately you are not going to pass, then you are going to study free of cost in very next term. There will be no tuition fee. There will be no cost for you. So this is something that we are going to offer, but definitely for this, we have some terms and conditions. So we will discuss the terms and condition. What are the terms and condition for no pass, no fee model? Let me repeat it again. If you study with us, if you registered with us, and then if you comply the terms and condition, then definitely you are going to pass. But if unfortunately you are not going to make it, then in very next term, you are going to study free of cost. There will be no tuition fee for you people. This was the very first point for our orientation, that is basically no pass, no fee model. Then we will discuss why ICAW. I hope that you people will be aware. First of all, it is a top qualification, top up qualification. Because most of the students who join ICAW, they are basically two basic route. First of all, either they join after ACC, like they have completed their ACC, either ACC affiliate or ACC member. Or second route is basically through CFAP. Like they go for complete 15 exams of ICAW. So either you are through CFAP or either you are through ACCA, you are going to top up your qualification, particularly in case of ACCA. Because sometimes some people think if you already hold one UK qualification, then what is the purpose of adding another qualification? No, just think for a while, just think for a moment. If this was the case, then why they developed two different bodies? ICAW was developed approximately in 1880s and ACCA approximately in again in same century as well. So why they built up, why they went for two different qualifications? Definitely there is a difference. And when you are going to study, then you people will realize that there is a huge difference between ACCA and ICAW. My comments does not something like a disparaging comment for one body and encouraging comment for another body. No, it just simply means there are different levels, technical levels in terms of knowledge, in terms of skills, and so on, basically. So that's why it is called that for ICAW, it is basically a top up qualification after your ACCA, after your other professional qualifications as well. It is much more recognized, basically. Yes, much more recognized. Even if you will look at the top 10 bodies, top 10 accounting bodies of the world, then you will recognize, you will feel this thing that ICAW is the leading qualification in top 10 bodies of the world. You can also work at top position, just like your finance manager, head of internal audit, CFO, directors, and many other positions as well. Obviously, if it is much more recognized top position, then definitely there will be a higher reward for you. So there will be a higher reward for you as well. So these are some of the points why you should pursue ICAEW. As I told you that it's the leading body in the world. You have opportunities across the globe. Like you can work in Gulf region, you can work in UK, you can work in many other countries of the world as well, basically. Obviously, you have diversified scope. Why diversified scope? Because you can work in accounts, you can work in finance, you can work in audit, you can go for taxation, you can go for insolvency, and you can go for many other areas as well, basically. So it provides you a different scope, diversified scope, because when you will be going through your articles, when you will be going through different training, then you can have your training in multiple areas just to make it that you have a very good exposure as well. Even after the training, you can work in multiple areas: finance, accounts, audit, tax, insolvency, and many other areas as well. Again, it's a prestigious qualification because it's a leading accountancy body. You have multiple opportunities, diversified scope. So it is a much more prestigious qualification for all of us. So this was basically the first point why we should choose, why we should join ICAEW. Now, second point is basically about exemptions basically. So how many exemptions you are going to avail? Exemptions, basically there are different exemptions for different qualification. Why I have not put the exemptions table here? Because it depends, different people have different qualification. Because different people have different qualification. So according to their qualification, they award different exemptions basically. When I use the word qualification, then there are two types of qualification. First of all, these are academic qualification. Second, it is basically the professional qualifications as well. So ICAEW has provided a list of different exemptions on their website for their academic qualification, for their professional qualifications as well. So you will be getting exemptions according to their rules, their criteria as well. But if sometime, because on their website, limited universities, limited courses are available. If you think, if you are in a country or if you have studied some qualification that is not being listed on ICAEW website, then simply you can send up your script to ICAEW and definitely they will reply you very soon about your qualification, about exemption, and many other queries as well, basically. So simply just check up with their website. If it is not listed, then just send me as an email or you can contact me as well, basically. So I will be here to help you out how we can proceed it further. Now let's talk about the exam structure of ICAEW. Broadly speaking, there are three different exam levels of ICAEW. First of all, it is the certificate level. Second, it is professional level. Third, it is basically the advanced level as well, basically. Our major discussion, this orientation will broadly focus on advanced level, but we will also discuss briefly the certificate level and professional level as well. In ICAEW, we have total 15 exams. We have total 15 exams in ICAEW. 6 of these exams are in certificate level, 6 exams are in professional level, and 3 of these exams are in basically the advanced level as well, basically. 6 exams certificate level, 6 exams in professional level, and 6 exams in our advanced level as well, basically. You can see the name in certificate level. We have accounting, assurance, taxation, law, business, finance, management information. In professional level, we have FAR, financial accounting and reporting, AA, audit and assurance, BS, business strategies, TC, tax compliance, FM, financial management, BFT, mean business, finance and technology. But we will not be discussing the certificate and professional level at this moment because our major focus is on advanced level. So if you have any query about your certificate level or professional level course, then definitely you can write to us. I will share the contact details at the end of this orientation, basically. And one thing in your mind as well, we also provide the coaching because we have a team, and that also provides the tuition for certificate level and professional level as well, apart from the advanced level. In advanced level, basically, we have 3 different exams. First of all, it is the CR, that is called as corporate reporting. Second exam is basically the SBM, that is strategic business management. Last exam, that is called as CS, or it is also called as case study as well. So we will discuss these exams: corporate reporting, strategic business management, and case study in much detail. What are the syllabus component, what is the exam structure, and how we can proceed for these 3 exams as well. Before we discuss the content, we have to analyze and we have to see why students are going to fail in ICAEW. Globally, if we just look at the percentages, some results, then ICAEW results approximately varies in 70% to 85%. These are some statistics of your advanced level results, and these statistics have been taken from ICAEW website, because after every exam result ICAEW publish some statistics, some results as well. So these statistics have been taken from ICAEW website. Global, you have 75% to 85 passing rate in advanced level result, but very unfortunately, as I told you, for some countries, particularly in some Asian countries, we have a very low passing rate. So in Asian countries, we have passing rate of approximately, you can say, around 20%, 15 to 20%. Why this is so? You can see the minimum percentage is 70, but here we have a percentage of 20 as well. So why this is so? Because there are a lot of reasons why we have a low passing rate in some countries. I have listed down some of the reasons. First of all, not covering the whole syllabus, because students think sometimes, for example, they think financial instruments is important. They think IAS 19 is important. And some standards are important while other standards are not important as well. That's why they do not cover the entire syllabus, and unfortunately, they suffer in their exam as well, basically. Second major issue is basically about the time management. What is time? Time management means you are facing problems in your exam. You cannot manage your time. Either you cannot complete your question, either you cannot complete your different parts of your question. So in both of the way, either you leave some question or either you leave some part of your question, then in both of the cases, you might have to suffer. Your marks will be deducted, and it is a very, very negative impression, because you cannot manage your time, you cannot manage your exam as well. Vague writing expression. What do you mean by vague writing expression? Sometimes when students write up the answer for a question, then they think like they have to read. No. When you write answer for any question, any part, then you should assume, you should think that the next person has to think. Only the paper will be in front of examiner. You will not be here to explain what you have written here as well. So please write in very clear, concise, and to the point. What do you mean? What do you understand? And how you have to answer it, basically. If you write some sort of expression, some sentences that are not self-explanatory, these are very long and lengthy sentences, then this is not going to work it out, basically. So you have to be very, very careful. For a moment, I will just skip down the second part and then we'll move to the third part. Then we'll come back to my second part as well. Lack of practice, yes. Because sometimes, for example, students think like they can only practice like 5 to 10 questions or very few questions as well. And then they just look at the question and they think what should be the answer. And finally, they look at the answer as well. So these things are not going to work it out as well, basically. So you have to go through a good amount of practice if you want to ensure that you have to pass out your exam in your very first attempt as well. Generic discussion, yes, this is again a common problem. If you know some of the points, if you have some knowledge, that's good, but you go for the general ideas, basically. Like you go for your general ideas. General ideas are not going to work it out, basically. So you have to be specific. If you will apply the specific criteria, if you will apply specific rules according to your standards, then definitely you will be rewarded. If you will just mention the general point, then definitely you will lose your marks or you will get very low marks in your exam as well. For example, if I just take the example of, let's say, IAS 37. We know that IAS 37 is basically about 3 areas: provisions, contingent liabilities, and contingent assets as well. Again, in provision, you have the definition of provision, you have criteria, you have onerous contract, you have some other rules and regulations as well. So examiner is specifically asking you about, like for example, about environmental pollution, environmental provisions as well. Let's say examiner is asking about onerous contract as well. So you have to specifically answer, what do you mean by onerous contract? Do you think the criteria is being fulfilled or not? Either you will recognize a provision or a contingent liability for this onerous contract. If you will just generally mention the definition and then you will go through other points, then this strategy might not work it out. So specifically focus on your requirement, focus on your specific rule, and do not go for general ideas or generic discussion basically. Requirement testing, yes, again a common problem, because you do not address your requirement very carefully, because students read out the requirement in a very low amount of time, because they think time is running out, they have to quickly read out the requirement because they have to complete the exam. Just consider 1 minute, 1 point. If you misunderstood your requirement, then what will be the consequences? Then it means for next 40-45 minutes or 1 hour, you might be wasting some of your time, because you do not know what you have to write down exactly. So you have to be very careful how you have to read the requirement, how you have to break, how you have to divide your requirement in sub requirements as well. What are the different components of your requirement? Because if there is a word and or some other word, then it means your requirement has been divided into different portion as well. So you have to answer according to different words, different key areas, what has been mentioned by the examiner in your question as well. So these were some of the reasons. Now let's move on to our red box as well. First of all, I will mention why I have highlighted this with our red color. The reason is that because these reasons are, you can say, much dangerous for failing the student. First of all, the overconfidence. Why this overconfidence? Because most of the students who join the ICAEW, particularly at advanced level, they normally join after ACCA. I am not discrediting any student or any qualification. The only reason is that because they think in ACCA they have covered the enough reporting, they have studied the audit, they also know about the finance and strategy. So they can easily go through the exam and they will pass up the exam. So this is basically the overconfidence. If you have some rules, some background information, that's a very good thing, because these points are going to help you a lot in your preparation of advanced level. But again, there are a lot of differences between ACCA and ICAEW as well. That's why we have two different bodies as well. Second point is basically about poor exam technique. For different papers, we have different exam technique. I will just put a very simple example. Just assume, for example, if you are from ACCA, like for fundamental level, for audit and assurance, you have different syllabus, different write-up, different practice. For advanced audit and assurance, we have different syllabus, we have different write-up, and there is a huge difference between audit and assurance AA and advanced audit and assurance as well. So in the same way, we have different exam techniques for ACCA and for ICAEW as well, because everybody, every qualification has its own norms, rules and regulation, and we have to comply with their own rules and regulation if we want to succeed for that particular qualification. And I already explained considering these areas the same. And last point is basically about lack of technical knowledge. Why? Again, as I already explained, because they think they have some knowledge, but honestly, you need more and more technical knowledge because we have these exams, and these exams are quite technical level, because after qualifying these exams, you will be recognized as an ACM. You will be recognized as a chartered accountant as well of one of the leading body of the world. That's why we have some technical knowledge, and examiner expect this from student that they must have a very good amount of technical knowledge. Apart from technical knowledge, you must have some good skills as well. So that's why these are some of the reasons why students are going to fail. Definitely, we work on all of these weaknesses as well. When we will be having our detailed session, then definitely we will work on all of these weaknesses, because we have practice session and so on. In next few slides, I will discuss how we are going to study basically. So in this slide, we are going to explain how we will study. And I have divided this into two portions. First of all, syllabus. Second, it is the practice sessions as well. In syllabus, first of all, we will be completing our syllabus. And this syllabus is available on ICAEW website. This is our orientation, so I will just mention what will be our strategy. In our next session, I will discuss in detail what is a syllabus for corporate reporting, what is a syllabus for strategic business management, and what is a syllabus for case study exam. So first of all, we will be completing our syllabus according to ICAEW that is being mentioned. Apart from syllabus, I will be sharing my notes as well. So these notes will be for your reporting areas. These notes will be for your strategy areas. These notes will be for your finance areas and for our other areas as well, basically. Why these are notes? Because if you will look at the study manual, then approximately you have 1600 plus pages for one exam. Like you can see 1600 pages for corporate reporting, and again approximately 1600 pages for SPM exam as well. So if you are going to go through, then it will take a huge amount of time. If you have time, then definitely you must go, but you must go with a proper strategy. You must go with some good exam techniques as well, because some students think that it's time consuming activity, because normally the students who join at advanced level, they have some sort of training, some sort of job as well. So due to lack of time, what they have to do, they have to adopt some good strategies as well. So they will go through the notes. We will also use the study manual, question bank, study text as well, but we will use them with a good technique. So you remember, you cover all of those points as well. I will be sharing the 2021 study material. That is the latest study material. We will be having some class-based and some home-based assignments as well, basically. So some class-based and some home-based assignments would be there. Class-based assignments mean, for example, I will solve some part of the question, some question, and then remaining question will be solved by you students as well. Home-based assignments mean, for example, some questions will be covered in class, remaining questions will be completed by the student. They will submit their assignments to me. I will review those assignments, will provide you feedback, and then we will move on. Because feedback is very, very important. You must understand what you have done right, what is a mistake, what you have done wrong. Because we need to improve, and then definitely we are going to pass it as well. Then it is basically about the practice session. In practice session, we regularly conduct our tests as well. For example, when we will be covering our some major standards, then definitely there will be a test. There will be some past papers question from question bank and from past papers as well. And we cover approximately more than 50% of it. More than 50% of questions of question bank and past papers in our regular sessions as well. And I will be solving all of these questions in front of all of you people. So you will be having an idea how we have to solve those questions for our real exam as well. Apart from this, there will be some revision classes as well. So for example, your revision classes will be conducted in October because you have exams in November. So your revision classes will be conducted in October as well. In revision classes, we will be having question answer session. We will be going through the practice. We will be also revising our technical areas as well. And finally, there will be exam tips and technique. These exam tips and techniques are not only at the end of session, but when we will be covering our syllabus, we'll be going through our practice of question bank and past paper, then I will be sharing some exam tips and techniques as well. And hopefully these tips and techniques will be useful for you people, how to cover technical areas, how to go with good writing expression and save your time, complete your paper on time as well. What is this? This is basically a sample. This is a question from a student. A student just wrote down the question and then sent it back to me. So I just reviewed question and provided what she or he has done good or what she or he has done bad as well. So this was the question. Like what they have to do basically. For example, when the control is achieved. So when, what do you mean by when? You should specifically mention the date. Some spelling mistake, some discussion, some. So in this way, what I am going to do, I am going to provide you the feedback. So these are your assignments. These are your questions. You will be submitting those questions to me. I will be reviewing those questions and will provide you feedback in this form. And hopefully this will be a good practice for all of us because it will allow you people what you have done right, what you have done wrong, how you can improve in this area as well. Moving forward, now let's discuss the syllabus. Yes. What is the syllabus for corporate reporting and what is the syllabus for our strategic business management exam as well? Corporate reporting exam, this is also called as CR. Strategic business management exam, this is also called as SBM. First of all, we will discuss the corporate reporting. In corporate reporting, approximately 55 to 65% of area is basically about IAS and IFRS, International Accounting Standards and International Financial Reporting Standards as well. Before we discuss the further syllabus, let me explain you people that we will discuss each and everything in detail because some people might think this corporate reporting exam is an advanced level exam, so we will be covering the advanced level content. No, our first class will be on IAS2. And I hope that you people will remember that IAS2 is basically about inventories basically. So our first session of corporate reporting will be on IAS2 basically, inventories. I hope that might be a revision for some of the students and that might be a new standard for some of the US. So if you have good knowledge of IAS2, that will be a good thing, that will be a revision. Even if you do not remember, what do you mean by IAS2? What are the technical areas of IAS2? Then it will be a good class for you as well. After IAS2, our next class will be on IAS16, property, plant, and equipment. Then we will discuss IAS36, impairment of asset. First of all, we will cover non-current asset. Then we will cover relevant areas and relevant points as well. So in short, the main purpose of telling you people is that we will be starting from a very, very basic standard, that is IAS2. And then we will cover all of our areas, including IAS19, employee benefits, IAS21, foreign currency, IAS27, IFRS 3, IFRS 2, IFRS 2, IFRS 3, IFRS 7, IFRS 9, IFRS 15, IFRS 16, and many other contents of our syllabus as well. So what we will be doing, we will be using the syllabus from ICAW, and we will be just highlighting what we have covered and what we need to cover in our coming sessions as well. After this, 30% to 40% of area is basically about the auditing side as well. So you will be learning about the audit. What are the different rules of audit and how we have to proceed with our auditing side as well, basically. And approximately 5 to 10% of this syllabus is basically about ethics. Yes, ethics are very, very important in your ICAW exam. In all of your 15 exams, ICAW, ethics are very, very important. Why? Because they think if you are a good accountant, having good salary, good business, this is good for you, for your family. So what about your society? You are living in a society, so you have to pay it back to your society. How you can pay it back? Obviously in the form of ethics, public interest. So you have to consider there is no conflict and you have to act, you have to work in a public interest. Consider sustainability as well. So that's why we will discuss the ethics. And in corporate reporting, we do not have any area of our finance or strategy. So this is not applicable for corporate reporting. If we talk about our second portion, that is basically strategic business management. It is also called as SBM. In SBM, you can see approximately 10% to 15% of area consists of reporting and audit. 5 to 10% of area consists of ethics as well. So you can see this is just a replication of syllabus of your corporate reporting. So if you have time and if you think you can manage both of these exams, then definitely you should study both corporate reporting and SPM. But again, it will depend if you have time and if you can manage it as well, basically, because it will allow you people, because there is an overlap of syllabus in corporate reporting and in SPM as well. Obviously, this reporting and audit area is covered in corporate reporting as well, because mostly students who join us, they are from some background, and first of all they study corporate reporting and then they move to SPM, or they join us for both of the points as well. New areas are basically in SPM, that is basically about business analysis. So 30% to 40% of area is basically about business analysis, different models, technical points, strategies, strategic implication, change management, human resource management, IT, information technology, some costing areas as well. So in business analysis, you also have some of your costing techniques like ABC, absorption costing, break-even value, break-even analysis, transfer pricing, budgeting, performance management, and so on. In finance, 25% to 35% of area is basically about the finance side, financial management. Here we'll be discussing about investment appraisal. We will be talking about business valuation. We will be talking about foreign currency. We will be talking about hedging. We will also briefly discuss what do you mean by working capital, what are different strategies for working capital as well. And we will cover all of these areas in our much detail as well, basically. So this is a syllabus for corporate reporting, and this is also a syllabus for our SBM exam as well. Before we jump to our new slide, let me clear some of the confusions as well. As I told you that most of the students who join ICAW advanced level, particularly they are from ACCA background. And don't worry if you don't have any ACCA background, if you hold some any other qualification, that is perfectly acceptable as well. Because in finance, they think in ACCA we have different options, like you can go with P4, P7, or you can normally students go with P6 and P7. So if you have studied P6 and P7, like advanced taxation and advanced audit, and you have not covered the advanced financial management, then you should not be worried about. Why? Because we will be studying our finance with our basic concept, like what is investment appraisal, what is payback period, how we can calculate payback period, how we can calculate NPV, IRR, discounted payback period. So it means, in a nutshell, my main purpose is that we will be starting from our basic. Even if you know the advanced financial management, that's good. Even if you do not know, you should not be worried, because we will be starting from our very basic points as well. Now let's talk about the exam structure. Again, this is just basically again a different representation of syllabus. 55 to 65% of reporting, audit insurance 30 to 40%, ethics are basically around 5 to 10% as well. Now let's talk about the exam structure of our corporate reporting exam as well. Basically, in corporate reporting, again, we already know that's 100 marks of exam, 100 marks exam as well. And again, 50%, you can say 50 marks are basically the passing marks as well. But it's not easy to get those 50 marks because there are some technical points as well. But don't worry, we will be covering those areas. If we discuss the exam structure of corporate reporting, we have 3 questions. Question 1, approximately 40 marks. Question 2, approximately 30 marks. Question 3, approximately 30 marks. These are just rough estimate taken from ICW examiner sample as well. Because in reality, it might be 42, it might be 38 or something like that. But particularly it is 40 marks, 30 marks and 30 marks as well. In question 1, there will be areas of accounting and reporting and ethics as well. Question 2, they will be reporting, audit and ethics. In question 3, they will be reporting and audit and ethics areas as well. So in short, you can say mostly our question 2 and question 3 are integrated questions as well. What do you mean by integrated? Integrated means reporting and audit areas are being combined in question 2 and in question 3 as well. It might be an integrated question in question 1, but normally we have integrated question in question 2 and in question 3 as well. Now let's talk about the SBM. Again, as I told you, there are different components: business analysis 30 to 40%, finance 25 to 35%, corporate reporting 15 to 20, assurance, audit and assurance 10%, ethics is basically about the 5% area as well. Now let's talk about the SBM exam structure. SBM exam structure is a little bit different from your corporate reporting exam structure as well. In corporate reporting, we have 3 exam questions, but in SBM, we have 2 exam questions. Question number 1, approximately 55 to 65 marks, and this is called as major case study. Question number 2, that is approximately, that varies from 35 to 45 marks. This is called as minor or mini case study as well, basically. Question 1 is major case study. Question 2 is basically a minor or mini case study because it has little bit less marks as compared to question 1. Question 1 is basically about business analysis. It could involve finance, costing or ethics. But question 2, apart from business analysis, finance, it also includes some points, some marks for reporting and audit as well. Again, these reporting and audits are from your corporate reporting exam. So approximately 10 to 15 marks, you can assume that will be repeated from your corporate reporting exam. So that's why it is advisable, if you have time, you should go with studying both of the exam, as it will allow you to take some of the very easy marks from one exam to another exam as well. Now let's talk about the case study. What do you mean by case study? Because sometimes some students think case study is just writing a thesis. No, this is not writing a thesis. This is something, a real exam as well. So first of all, case study is basically a real exam. Because normally we think case study mean thesis. No, it's a real exam and not a thesis. So it's a real exam as well, basically. First of all, the good news is that in case study, we have no technical knowledge. Technical knowledge means we do not have anything. It means there is, in technical means sometimes we think there is a reporting, there is audit, there is finance. There is no finance, there is no audit, there is no reporting in your case study. So case study is not a technical exam. Case study is basically a skills-based exam as well. What do you mean by skill-based exam? Skill-based exam means in this exam, your skills will be tested, how good you are. Because in case study, we have to write a report. And this report means we have to write a business report, business writing. For example, this report will be presented to your board of directors, client, CEO, CFO, or many other senior personnel as well. So that's why this report writing is called as skill-based exam as well. We have to be very good with our skills writing as well. In case study, there is a concept of advanced information. What do you mean by advanced information? For example, you are working in internal audit. And let's say you go with a meeting with your finance department. So definitely you will be cleared with the agenda of your meeting as well. What are the points? What are the topics of my discussion, my meeting? So I will be much prepared. So I will be in a better position. So I can discuss those points with my second team, with my second department as well. So in the same way, before your real exam, ICAW examiner releases some of the information in advance. In this advanced information, examiner will tell you what industry will be tested. For example, it might be a construction industry. Like for in this term, we have House Pride Limited. It could be a construction industry. It could be a bicycle industry. It could be a books industry, or it could be any industry as well. Examiner will give you the industry and a fictional company of some previous years as well, basically. So you will analyze the information, you will see what are the trends, but in your real exam, examiner will give you some new information, new management accounts as well. So you have to use some information from your advanced information and some points from your new exam. That's a real exam. So in fact, most of your points will be from your new exam as well. So you will be having an idea. What do you mean by that? In case study, we have 3 exam requirements: requirement 1, requirement 2, and requirement 3. In case study, there is only one question. There is only one question as well. And this one question has 3 exam requirements as well. And we also have some ethical issues. We also have some ethics as well. Apart from ethics, we have some business issues as well. We have some business issues. We have some business trust issues as well in our case study exam as well. If you talk about the different requirements of case study, requirement 1 is basically about financial side, financial analysis. Requirement 1 is basically about the financial analysis side. Requirement 2 is basically about financial data analysis. Requirement 3 is basically about business analysis. And final ES is basically about executive summary. I will just briefly mention what do you mean by different requirement, as we will be having a separate orientation, separate class for students who will be joining us for case study. Financial analysis being, for example, it's a 2019 and it's a 2020 as well. And let's say your sales are, let's say, $100 million here. And let's say your sales were $80 million here as well. You can easily see, you can easily watch that your sales has been increased by $20 million from 2019 to 2020. That's a very good thing. but you should mention why your sales has increased, why there is an increase as well. Basically, there could be two reasons. For example, this increase could be due to increase in price, or this increase could be due to increase in volume as well, basically. Or it could be possible like this increase could be due to both of the reason, due to price as well as due to volume as well, basically. So you should apply your knowledge, you should apply your judgment, you should apply your skills, and then you have to provide the answer as well. This is called as financial analysis. We have management accounts. In our advanced information, we have to analyze, we have to see the trend, and we also have to perform a small amount of research on our industry as well, basically. Financial data analysis, that is basically our requirement too. Now let's talk about the financial data analysis. Financial data analysis, it is also called as FDA. For example, I just give you a very simple data. Let's say your sales in 2019, well, let's say you sold out 100,000 units. And the selling price was, let's say, these are the quantity. And let's say your selling price was £5 per unit as well. Now it's a 2020. And you are considering like your sales will be 125,000 units, and your selling price will be increased from £5 to £8 per unit as well. So what you are considering a significant increase in your number of units. You are also increasing your selling price by more than 50% as well. So do you think, can you achieve both of these goals? Do you think there is a huge demand for your product? Do you think can customer pay you £8 per unit as well? What are the trends? How market will respond? How your competitors will respond as well? What do you think? Why you have increased this price? Definitely, customer needs the justification as well. If you think if customer will be satisfied, then definitely he or she might be interested in buying your products, buying your units as well. Otherwise, it might be a waste. This strategy might be a flop strategy as well. So you have to careful, you have to look at the assumptions basically. In financial data analysis, in data, we play with our assumption. What are our assumptions here as well, basically? Price, units, other areas, capacity. Do you think, can you produce 125,000 units as well? How you are going to work it out, basically. So a lot of questions, a lot of assumptions that we can apply in our FDA requirement to financial data analysis. If we talk about requirement 3, basically, that is basically business analysis. What is business analysis? Let me give you a very simple example. For example, you have a business in UK. That's a very good thing. But you think you have option to expand your business, and now you have 3 options. You can expand in your Gulf region. You can expand in US region. You can expand in any other region, for example, that's like Canada. So what do you think basically where you have to expand? So you have to analyze the markets of different countries, Gulf, US, and Canada. You have to see what are the rules, what are the legislation, what is the demand, what is the political environment, social factors, technological factors, legal laws, employment laws, what are your strengths, weaknesses, portfolio forces, competition, and many other models as well. So this is called as business analysis. So you will consider the strategic level, operational level, commercial level, and many other points as well, basically, where you have to start your business, where you have to go for your investment, basically. So this is basically your business analysis. Executive summary, you can see, you can analyze. Summary means that's a brief version as well, basically. So executive summary will be for all of these 3 requirements. You will be writing individual executive summary of requirement 1, requirement 2, and requirement 3 as well. So this is what I can tell you about executive summary at this moment. Otherwise, there is a complete format, what you have to write and what you do not have to write in your executive summary. Let's look at some results of our students from November 2020 and July 2020. Basically, this was not July 2020 due to COVID. This was August 2020. So in November 2020, there were some students. I have just mentioned the marks of results of some of our previous students as well. So due to some private reason, obviously, I cannot share their names and registration numbers as well, basically. These are only some of them because definitely it's not possible to list down the results of all of our students as well. So these are some screenshots of our previous students results as well. This was all from my side. Thank you very much all of you for listening. These are our contact details. So these are basically our WhatsApp details that you can use. This is basically our official email, AFTC Accountancy and Finance Training Center. And this is our Facebook page as well. So you can contact at any of these details as well, basically. This was all from my side. Thank you very much again for listening me. If you have any question, then please write to us. I will be happy to answer, to reply all of your queries and questions as well, basically. Thank you. Thank you.